Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that knows that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
The drawings show them what really happened.
And what did you draw? A yellow rabbit hitting the subscribe button?
They can see you now.
Well, great! That is the point of the subscribe button after all. Thanks, Abby. Finally it's happened. After 8 agonizingly long years in development hell, hopping from studio to studio, director to director, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is finally out for you to go see right now. And man, has this been a commercial hit. As of the writing of this script, just one weekend into release, the movie's made over $152 million at the box office, more than 7 times its own budget. And that's despite being available to stream on Peacock, where, oh wait, it's also the most viewed movie on Peacock ever. Suck on that, my big fat Greek wedding 3. It's also Blumhouse's most successful opening weekend to date, which means that more people are turning out to see Springtrap wielding his knife than Michael Myers. Maybe now Hollywood will finally bother to get the name of this thing right.
And his other movie, Friday Nights at Freddy's, comes to theaters and streaming on Peacock October 27th.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
What did I say?
Friday nights. It's been 8 or 9 years since I first met Scott Cawthorn, who created this.
Why do we get it wrong?
Five Nights.
Or not. Who cares? Forget them. This thing was made for the fans. From Sparky the Dog to Dream Theory to...
It's just a theory.
You bet it is, and today we're getting back to those theorist roots. Today we're theorizing about the actual movie, and boy, is there a lot to talk about here. True story, after the movie, I basically locked myself in the room with Lee and Tom, the film and game theory creative directors, and we busted out our trusty whiteboard to figure out exactly what was going on in the movie and where the story was gonna head in the future, because there were just a lot of details left hanging. What was up with the Balloon Boy figurine? How's no one freaked out by the fact that there are bodies in those animatronics? Wasn't this like the most structurally unsound table for it of all time? That last one, perhaps, the biggest mystery of them all. Today, we're gonna be looking at all the Easter eggs, secrets, and hidden lore from the movie, then comparing those to other parts of the franchise, both the books and the games, in order to predict where the story of the FNAF 2 movie is gonna go years before they actually make it. So that's our one job for today, but before we get to it, I also have to shout out our brand new line of officially licensed FNAF theory wear.
That's 2 jobs.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Vanessa, it is 2 jobs. Anyway, let me tell you guys, these are some of the most fun, unique items that we've ever done. And not only are the designs fun, let's be honest, there's also a lot of just FNAF stuff out there in the market, which is also why we wanted to create the highest quality clothing out there, complete with rubber patches, embroidered detailing, soft teddy fleece. This stuff isn't just FNAF merch, it is FNAF apparel. Oh, in case you were wondering, every item in this collection had to be approved by Mr. Scott Cawthorn himself. Look, we're so tight, I even know how to pronounce his name right. And in this collection, we've got something for everyone. Do you like graphic tees? Check out the retro band t-shirts featuring Freddy, Purple Guy, and of course, Music Man! You want something a little bit more subtle? The all-over prints of the confetti tee and the employee tee will make you look good without screaming, "I'm a FNAF fan!" in everyone's face. If you're in the mood to do some cute FNAF bounding, the Chica Cheer bundle's got you covered with a Chica-themed top, skirt with underskirt, and high socks. And of course, we've got jackets. Oh boy, we've got jackets. It's not a theory wear collection unless there are some killer jackets in here. And we had fun with... point out that we already do have some vague idea where the sequel's gonna head. In an interview with Variety, FNAF director Emma Tammy explained that the first movie was tied to the first game, so a second film would likely tie into a second game, which, duh, kinda goes without saying, but also should probably make our lives easy, right? Yeah, not quite. As we mentioned in our first prediction theory, the strategy for the movieverse seems to be taking iconic bits and pieces from across the entire franchise, games, books, fan theories, even hoaxes, and distilling it all down into the most recognizable version of FNAF there is. That's how we got Mike Schmidt from FNAF 1 hanging out with Vanessa from Security Breach, fighting Springtrap from FNAF 3, and saving Abby from getting stuck into a Springlock version of Ella from the Silver Eyes novel, with an ending that was ripped straight out of the 4th closet. It is literally FNAF the smoothie. Everything dumped into a blender, chopped up, and then poured back out onto the big screen. So yeah, while it did follow the same broad strokes as the first game, Five Nights in the FNAF 1 pizzeria with ghost kids in suits, it is definitely not the same story. It's also important to note the changes to the story that have been added in. One example has to be the time that these movies take place. It's widely accepted that the FNAF 1 video game takes place somewhere around 1993, and yet in this scene from the movie, we see a date on a security camera that reads April 6th, 2000, about 7 years later. Another big example, though we've long theorized that the story of the original FNAF games takes place in Utah, that is not the case in the film. In the film, during the scene where Aunt Jane is confronting Mike at Abby's school, her lawyer hands Mike some family court paperwork. If you pause and read the fine print on the documents, you'll find the URL mncourts.gov, which is the the official website for the Minnesota judicial system. Additionally, we can see a phone number with the area code 651, which is connected to the St. Paul area and eastern suburbs of Minnesota. And get this, I kid you not, there's a small town in this area code named Afton. You cannot make that up. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Scott moved the entire movie to Minnesota just for that change alone. Lastly, there's also this decal on Vanessa's police cruiser, GFPD. PD stands for police department. That part's pretty darn obvious, but then what about the GF? Well, honestly, that could stand for any city or township with those same initials, from Grand Forks to Glen Falls to Great Falls, but included in that list is Granite Falls, just 2 hours west of St. Paul, whose cop cars, at least according to the website, follow the exact same black and white color pattern that we see in the movie. Speaking of clues from the cars that are seen throughout the movie, we can also reasonably assume that Mike's brother Garrett was kidnapped in the early 80s, based on this shot from Mike's dream sequence. By taking the rear end of William Afton's car here and reverse image searching for it, we're able to identify this as a Ford Fairmont Futura. Specifically, the model is coming from between 1980 and 1983. You can immediately see the connections here between the unique vertical taillight design and the boxy body shape. But why then does that matter? Well, Mike's brother Garrett is likely the first child that Afton abducted and killed. In Mike's dream flashbacks, we very clearly see Garrett holding a toy airplane as he's being taken away in the back of Afton's car. And where do we see that airplane again? When Vanessa reveals Afton to be her father. She's holding the same airplane. That right there, that is cold. Gifting toys from your victims to your daughter. But not only is it gross, it's also helpful because it lets us put together a rough timeline. You see, Afton and Vanessa are clearly in a still operational pizzeria in this photograph, which means it had to have been taken before the other kids went missing, causing Freddy's to shut down. In other words,